Good morning, everybody. My name is Barry Schwartz, and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, March 18th, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable over the past week at seroundtable.com. Lot to discuss. Some Google ranking weirdness a week ago, so maybe a Google update, I'm not sure. Very weird. GA4 is going to be replacing Universal Analytics, what you know as Google Analytics, in 2023. Google Analytics will be going away, and all the historical data with it. There's some Google local reviews bug that is starting to be fixed right now, and so much more. And again, I hope the camera is working out okay, because some reason the adapter is not letting me work with it on the actual device. It's on the actual iPhone. So all I see is a little small screen, but I think last week was okay. This wasn't positioned properly, so hopefully this is positioned a little bit better. In any event, let's get into the news. First up, Google search ranking update, which seemed to happen around March 11th. I noticed a significant amount of chatter on March 11th, Friday, a week ago. But then I waited and waited and waited. I saw the chatter continue throughout the weekend, and then it kind of died down Monday morning. The weird thing is the actual tools showed absolutely no significant changes at all. In fact, it was unusually and weirdly, and maybe even eerily, calm. But there was definitely significant chatter. People said, hey, there was something happened on Friday. Rankings dived or went up. Significant changes with my search traffic and so forth. But on Monday morning, everything seemed to go back to the way it was, for better or for worse. But again, the tools themselves did not pick up on it. I mean, you can see all the screenshots here. I don't think the tools picked up on it. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Usually the chatter and the tools are in sync. Sometimes the tools show a significant spike and the chatter is not there, but it's weird to see chatter without having any tools actually also convey it. So that was very weird for me, at least. So I don't know if you saw anything over the weekend, but if you did, you are not alone. The big news this week, not necessarily search news, but affects obviously all search marketers and all marketers of a kind, is that Google announced that they're killing off Universal Analytics, what you know as Google Analytics, the third generation. Obviously, GA4, Google Analytics 4, has been out for a while. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of controversy around it. It is a totally different way of Google tracking analytics. So it's a lot different. Actually, the real times is pretty obvious. The page views, all this type of stuff is different. And then how Google tracks it on Google Analytics 4 with Google Analytics 3. The issue is, obviously, since they track the data differently, Google cannot migrate your GA3 data to GA4. That's not possible. Maybe there's a way for them to fake migrate it, but they're not. They're basically saying any historical data will be gone. You can export it as CSV or PDF or whatever format you want. You have, I guess the date is, the processing in Universal Analytics, Google Analytics 3 properties will stop processing new hits July 1st, 2023. And the timeline basically goes from there. You won't be able to access previously processed data and also for 6 months. So you'll be able to see that data for 6 months. And then after that, Google's going to get rid of it completely. And it's not going to be in Google Analytics 4. It's going to be gone unless you export it and do something with it. So I know a lot of SEOs are looking for alternatives. They are adding the GA4 scripts to their website right now. This way they have at least a year or so of data to process year over year to compare data in GA4. At the same time, a lot of SEOs are looking into alternatives for Google Analytics stuff. The reaction around this going away is, as you would expect, not good. I suspect Google will delay that July 2023 deadline, but again, it's going to happen. So prepare yourself, find a new analytics package, add it onto your site, figure out a way of maybe migrating your old data somehow. I'm not sure how, but maybe there's tools that do it. I'm not a big analytics person. One of our first analytics packages that we used in the late 90s and early 2000s, before there were actually analytics packages, there was just log files, and you'd actually print out the log files and highlight them, which is no joke what we did. But Urchin came out, and there was processing your log files, which is a whole new way of handling it. And then Urchin was acquired by Google, and Google's like, we're not going to process log files anymore. We're going to go ahead and just have people add a script to their website and then track it that way, which is a different way of processing it. Now Google's doing Google Analytics 4, which they've been doing for a while, which is a whole new way of doing it as well. They have a script on there, but they're tracking it differently for GDPR and privacy purposes and all this other stuff. So keep that in mind. It's a big change. don't worry too much about it. And of course, I made a joke about it. I said, is GA4 going to be a ranking factor to encourage SEOs and site owners to move over from GA3 to GA4? And John Mueller said that won't happen. Of course that won't happen. That was just a joke, and Google does not use Google Analytics for any purposes in Google search rankings, which they say for numerous times. But again, GA4, you've seen it before. Google has done it with HTTPS, mobile friendly, page experience, et cetera, where they would say, we want you to do something. We'll give you a benefit, a ranking benefit, as minor as it might be, to go ahead and do it. Google's not going to do that with GA4. There's plenty of alternatives that you can use outside of GA4, so I guess that's why Google's not going to do that. The reviews have been, in Google local listings and Google business profiles, have been gone missing. I mean, at least new reviews. So those new reviews have not been posting for some reason. And I've been tracking it for about a couple weeks or so. Google has acknowledged that there is an issue and said the fix will be rolling out by the end of this week, which is now. There are a lot of local businesses saying, yeah, my reviews are now showing up, are now posting. New reviews should have been posting as of a couple days ago automatically, assuming they're not spammy or in violation of Google's policies. But again, Google's local reviews problem, which happened over the past several days, maybe 2 weeks or so, should be fixed. And any old reviews that need to be processed or reprocessed will be reprocessed by the end of this week. That might be the end of today on Friday. Google announced this week that they're expanding the hotel listings for free listings specifically to also show up in Google Search and Google Maps, not just in the Google Hotel vertical. So now if you do searches, free listings can also show up there, which is very great. Also, Google added additional reporting and different controls. So if you want to control your pricing rates and so forth in Google My Business or Google Business Profiles, I apologize, you could do that directly in Google Business Profiles in the upcoming weeks. And also Google added some new performance reports in the Google Hotel console, which you could play with. Google has officially confirmed that they rolled out the Refine This Search and Broaden This Search feature, which they demoed at Search On back in September of last year. We saw Google testing this for many months since then, and Google has officially rolled it out. The things to know, things to consider feature, which they also demoed, is not fully rolled out. We see Google testing that over and over again. I assume it will be rolled out at some point. Google clarified that none of these features, even though they were kind of demonstrated as being features of MUM, that Google used MUM technology, the AI that they touted at Search On, none of those features are currently using MUM at this point. But they reserve the right to say, yes, this may use MUM in the future, so keep that in mind. Google is testing or has launched offers carousels in the search results snippets. It's pretty cool. If you do a search for Target, you might go ahead and see a little, under the snippet, under the site links, you might see a carousel of their deals for the week or categories of deals for the week. John Mueller said this week on this past Hangout, basically that site quality issues can switch when you switch domain names. So we covered this numerous times, probably 10 years ago even, that penalties will follow you across domain names. So if you have a domain name that's been penalized and you want to go ahead and trick Google and say, all right, so move domain names, this domain is not penalized, so domain name A is penalized, I buy domain name B and I migrate it from domain A to domain B, that will follow you. And then it goes with site quality issues, core updates and stuff like that. Those will all follow you. And a person on the Hangout said, I tried everything. My rankings stink. I went ahead and even moved to a new domain name. And then for 3 days, I was doing great. My rankings were off the charts. And then all of a sudden, 3 days after that, went back to the old way, even though I moved to a new domain name. And John Mueller was like, that's what happens. Those things follow you. Google will reassess, figure out your site moved, and you will get hit by that, whatever it was. Moving on, Google Page Experience Update metrics can be split across multiple sections of your website. So Google says, if you have, a template of, category landing pages and a template of product landing pages and a template of buyer guides and so forth, and Google says, all right, we have enough data to process the category pages separate from the product pages, Google will do that for the page experience purposes, not just based on site domains, subdomains, or folders, based on templates as well. Google said we do not use engagement as a search ranking factor. I love how when I post these things, and I've posted these things numerous times over the past 10 plus years, the search community goes crazy. It's like, why wouldn't Google use engagement? Well, they say they don't. Well, I don't believe they don't. It's a funny thing, but whenever I post these things, it gets a lot of controversy and so forth. But Google again said they do not use user engagement metrics, whatever you want to call those, pogo sticking, not liking the site, clicking back, I don't know, as search ranking factors. Google Search Console's URL inspection tool, as of this morning, still is not fully fixed. Google has not yet. It's been going on, I think, several days, probably almost 2 weeks now. It's still not fixed. So if you are having URL inspection issues with your URLs, you're not alone. It's definitely not fully fixed yet. Google's Favicon help document now confirms that the Favicon crawler now uses Googlebot and Googlebot-Image tokens, no longer using Googlebot Favicon tokens. There was a poll by Natalie Mott who basically asked, "What do you expect to lose traffic after doing a site migration?" And the question was, when you are managing a site migration, do you automatically assume that there will be some traffic loss? And almost 80% said yes, we do assume there will be traffic loss. About 20% said no. I don't know, you're kidding. I mean, no matter what, even if you do it perfectly, there will be traffic loss over a course of a period of time, a short period of time, even if you do it perfectly. Maybe they're not counting the short period of time, but it takes Google time to process those new URLs and deal with it. Nothing you can do to help that. You're doing everything you do to help that, it will take time. So I'm not sure why 20% said no. But yeah, you can make it short-lived. You can make it just a couple weeks, to be honest, if you do it right. Another survey, this one by Joe Hall, asked, what's your favorite method of managing faceted navigation? I'm not going to get into what faceted navigation is, but basically most SEOs said by far they prefer to manage it using the canonical tag. About 70% said that. 13% said wildcards and robots.txt. 18% said no index. I don't know if I recommend those. In any event, there's lots of comments and commentary about that. Are those the right answers and not? I guess it all depends on the situation, but keep that in mind. Google Image Search is testing a lens button, which they've been doing for a while. You should all have lens in Google Image Search on desktop. But they're testing the ability to also do search, text, and translate in there as well, which is pretty cool. Google's My Business Profile messaging, which has been live for several years now. And it first initially launched as text messaging, where a customer will message you through the website, through the search results. You'll get a text message and you can respond through a text message. Then it went away, and now it's in the Google Business Profile messaging platform in the website or on the mobile app. And now it seems like Google's going to go ahead and actually try allowing texting again through SMS. So it's pretty interesting. Google's testing on these lists in the local results. Here's a screenshot of that. Google's hotel listing attribute has a new one for the Ukraine situation where if you want to say you offer free or significantly discounted accommodations at your hotels or venues or motels or whatever it might be for those displaced by Ukraine, you can add that attribute to your hotel listings. And also, Google officially announced their Search Central virtual Unconference. I know we've been reporting about this for a while. They actually just changed the dates. It was supposed to be on March 30th. Instead, now March 30th is when you can register for it, and it's going to take place on April 27th. So if you want to go to that, that's pretty cool. In any event, thank you so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. My name again is Barry Schwartz. This is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at SEOroundtable.com over the past week. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe. This is also available on Spotify and obviously YouTube and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. See you guys next. Be safe. Be healthy. Bye-bye.